Hey guys, this is Daniel Sobrano, and today I'm going to teach you how to throw a hook bare knuckle. So stay tuned. Alright, what I wanted to go over today is just some considerations when you're throwing hooks bare knuckle. Okay? Now, really, in the old days, the old fighters, bare knuckle fighters, they wouldn't throw a lot of hooks, not the way they throw them now. And the reason why is because they weren't wearing gloves. And they all knew that if you threw them the wrong way, you could break your fingers, your hands when you're fighting, okay? So they were throwing them a little bit different than what they do now, all right? So what I want to go over is the proper way, and also the reasons why you shouldn't throw hooks the way you would when you're wearing gloves versus when you're not wearing gloves, okay? So this next segment I'm going to go over how to do it properly. All right, now, the majority of guys, when they throw hooks, right, they're going to throw them with a horizontal or with a vertical fist when they throw their hooks, and mimicking the way they would do it when they're wearing boxing gloves. All the boxers throw them that way, okay? And that works fine when you have gloves on. But when you take the gloves off, the problem with it, guys, is you end up hitting the middle knuckles before the back knuckles hit the target, okay? And I can prove it to you by using the heavy bag. So if I turn my hand here and I throw it here, the first knuckles, let me show you, the first knuckles are the bottom or the middle knuckles that hit, which will cause my fist to buckle forward, okay? So what ends up happening is I end up either breaking or disfiguring these knuckles here when I hit something really solid like a skull or someone's face, jaw, and the back knuckles bend, which causes the wrist to get injured. Also, I might tear the ligaments and tendons in my hand here, or my fingers, because of the way I'm buckling in my fist, okay? Now if I throw them at the horizontal position, it's the same thing. I end up hitting, okay, with my middle knuckles, and it brings my wrist and bends it, and it causes the same type of damage, or it could cause that type of damage, okay? So it's really important to understand the reasons why you shouldn't throw your hooks that way when you're wearing no gloves. But when you're wearing gloves in the ring or sparring or training in the gym, obviously you're going to be able to do that. But if you're going to be using this type of punch for the street, you need to get used to punching it in the proper way. And so in the next segment, I'm going to show you the proper way to throw it. All right. Now, let me show you the proper way to throw the fist when you're throwing a bare knuckle for the hook. I throw it diagonal. If you throw it diagonal, okay, immediately it hits flush with the bag, and the back knuckle or the middle knuckles are taken out of the equation as far as getting a hit first, because you end up hitting the back knuckles properly when you're throwing your punch, okay? And that's really important, guys, because when you're throwing bare knuckle, you want to always try to hit with the back knuckles of your hand, okay? That's the most strongest ones, the bigger ones, all right? So when you're throwing your hook, keep it at a diagonal angle. The diagonal angle is the most safest way to throw your hooks, especially when you're going bare knuckle. I would also advise you to learn how to do that, and even do it when you're wearing your gloves, because you can still hurt your hand even if you're wearing gloves, okay? So when you're throwing that hook, make sure you keep the knuckles in a diagonal manner. A lot of guys ask me, well, it's like this, like that. The middle is the most combat effective for street fighting, okay? And it's the most dangerous way to position your knuckles when you're fighting out in the street. So I would advise you to use it and for everything, okay? Works really well. Now, the thing about the back knuckles is that, like I've told you before in other videos, you always point them in the direction that you want to strike, okay? And if you keep them diagonal as far as you're throwing, you're going to always end up hitting flush to your target, okay? And they're going to be structurally very soft, and so you're not going to hurt your hand. The reason why you don't want to turn your fist over this way, again, you're going to mess up your middle knuckles, you're going to twist your wrist, you can hurt your back knuckles, okay? And the punch gets dissipated by the middle knuckles before it hits into the main back knuckle. So it can cause a lot of damage, all right? And so anytime you wear gloves and do it, well, you have the padding and it's protected, so you can pretty much throw your knuckles any which way you want, and you never have to worry about, you know, which knuckles are hitting what. But when you're in a street fight, it is very important because it could cause, again, I could tell you, a lot of damage. So you got to be very careful and protect your fists even when you're fighting out there in the street, okay? Because once you break your hand and you're in a situation where you're fighting somebody, you know, now you're at a disadvantage because now you're a one-armed fighter. So it's very important to be able to understand and keep your hand functioning properly in the middle of a fight. Okay, now, am I saying that you should never throw them, you know, horizontal or vertical? No, like I said, if you're wearing gloves, that's fine. But again, the way you train is the way you're going to react or the way you're going to fight. So if you're using the techniques, especially the ones I show you for street fighting or for protection, self-protection, then you better learn how to do it the proper way, and that's the diagonal way, okay? Now, you know, a lot of guys say, well, I've been boxing for years and stuff. You know what? I talk to guys that are boxers all the time, and they always tell me the exact same thing. You know, I wish I would have known what you're teaching, because I would have not broke my hand. I wouldn't have messed up my hand. I can't punch right no more. My knuckles broken, this and that. I hear all these stories all the time, and it's sad because their careers could have lasted a lot longer, or at least they would have had healthier hands if they would have learned the proper way to strike, especially bare knuckle. Okay? And a lot of these guys tell me this is the way they hurt their hands was getting in a street fight. Okay? And they were boxers. All right? So again, whether you're a boxer or whether you're not a boxer, you just want to learn how to protect yourself with your hands for self-defense purposes, I would totally encourage you to learn how to punch diagonally. Diagonally is the best way to punch somebody. I read a long time ago, the Okinawan masters, karate masters, when they would teach you to punch horizontal, they would say, that's for punching your friends. Okay? But for hurting somebody, you would punch diagonal. And they would not teach the diagonal way of striking until you reach the black belt levels, okay? But prior to that, they would always teach you the horizontal punching, you know, that you see all the time, all right? And there was a reason why, because obviously when you're training with friends or you're training with, you know, your partners, you don't want to hurt them too much. But when you're training for combat, you would start doing it the proper way, and that would be the diagonal way, okay? And one of the reasons why is because, again, like I told before, the bones of the body are not straight, they're curved. So they curve down, and the diagonal way causes a lot of internal damage when you're striking the ribs, breaking individual ribs, going into the solar plexus, the liver, you know, the spleen, the kidneys. It fits into those crevices, into areas. And that's the way that you want to do it when you're fighting for combat. So again, it'll work. It's the best way to do it for street fighting, okay? Because obviously you're in a hand-to-hand fight. And it's sometimes, you know, any hit, it can knock you on the ground and either knock you out or kill you. So you got to be very careful, you know. So the diagonal way is the proper way when you're fighting bare knuckle. Okay, another way I wanted to go over to show you how the bare knuckle, the old bare knuckle guys would throw their hooks. The original way they would throw them was this way. Okay, they would just throw them this way. That's one of the reasons why I didn't like throwing the hooks too much, because it opens you up too much, you know, even white, okay? So they would throw them this way, and they would hit with the two big knuckles. That was the only time they would hit with the two big, that's when I would hit with the two big knuckles, okay? By throwing this way, and they would hit you in the jaw, on the temple, okay? Here, back of the jaw, the neck, okay? And so they would throw it this way. Now, when you throw them this way to hit with these two knuckles, obviously you want to get used to and get comfortable striking that way on the bag, okay? You want to make sure when you do that, though, that you align the knuckles with the forearm, okay? Here. That way it's more solid, stronger. When it's here, and you hit with this one, there's nothing to hold it and support it, so it'll twist on you, and you can mess up your hand and your wrist, okay? And then break your knuckles. So keep them here, and then strike that way. You'll find it's going to be more solid and a lot harder when you hit, okay? And it's going to be protecting the hand and the structure of the hand when you're striking that way, all right? So again, you would whip it, you can bring it over the top, and you're hitting those two knuckles primarily, again, to the temples, the jaw, the neck, okay, to knock out the individual and hurt them, all right? So that was the way they would throw that type of hook, okay? The bare knuckle way, okay? So that's just another option or another way you could throw it. I know a lot of guys like to throw those corkscrews. well, that's part of a corkscrew, and that's how they would do it, all right? So try that and slowly develop that, you know, because it is, when you turn it like that, you need to have that a strong structure so you won't mess your hand up, all right? So try it out and see what you guys think about using that type of hook when you get in a fight, you know, in the street, and throwing it, you know, bare knuckle. All right, guys, we've come to the end of the video, and I just wanted to make sure that you understand, okay, that the proper way to throw that strike for you when you're fighting, you know, in a self-defense situation is to keep them in a diagonal position. This way, you can hit the back knuckles and not the middle knuckles. These knuckles here, you know, as soon as they hit, they're going to buckle your wrist, and they're going to cause your punch not to be so solid, all right? So if you want to knock them out, you better be able to do it properly and be able to hit with your back knuckles. Again, point those back knuckles in the direction that you want to hit, okay? Don't keep your hands up like this, because where's your knuckles pointing? It's pointing up. Where's the target? It's right there. Why am I up here when I should be here to hit? And for all you guys that say, well, they can hit you in the head, well, you know what? Learn to move your head, okay? A lot of you guys don't even know how to move your head and slip, okay? Learn to move your head, and you're not going to get hit in the head, all right? I've seen a lot of guys with their hands here get hit in the head, so it doesn't do you any good either, protecting yourself this way, you know? Keep your hands here and keep them slightly away from your face when you're striking, all right? And that's the way you should be doing it, especially for bare knuckle, okay? So, until next time, this is Daniel Sobrano saying, don't just hit them, punch a hole through. Take care, and we'll talk to you later. Goodbye.